What is up everyone and welcome to today's video. Today we are going to talk about the Hack G4 Quicksilver for the second time. So if you guys haven't seen the first video, please go and check it out. The first video is definitely the building blocks to the whole series. Without that, we're not going anywhere. So this video isn't tremendously exciting, but it is generating a lot of hype for probably the next video in the Hack G4 Quicksilver series. Now, I've got a few really cool announcements that are very exciting, but as you can probably tell from the camera angle, I've also actually got a few physical items to show you guys. So, without further ado, let's get on with this video and take a look at what we've got. So before I forget to mention it guys, if anyone's curious about the components that I'm using, the Amazon wishlist that I have, which I believe is called Hack G4 Quicksilver IMNC, that is being updated all the time as I'm changing my mind, but it has kind of slowed down now. Things are staying the same, and I do have a GTX 960 in there as opposed to a 970. I have decided to kind of step down the video card a little bit for a few different reasons, but mainly cost. So, you know, it's worth checking out the list every now and again just to see if there are any changes, but I'll also mention the big changes that I make in the actual videos. But today, I have got a couple of things to show you, and it's related to a couple of things that I showed you in the vlog actually, so let's whip out this awesome little package onto the desk. So here we have a bit of cardboard because I've already ripped open into the package, and before we take a look at any of this stuff, I'd like to say a massive thank you to David Chugg. I've been emailing David and he's been helping me out with the Quicksilver and how it's all working, you know, in terms of modifications. And basically, that website that I was talking about in my last vlog that I did, the Laser Hive, I decided to go and order all of their, the 3 kits that they have, or the 2 kits, plus the PSU mount for the Quicksilver case. Now basically, for those of you who don't know, the Laser Hive actually laser cut sort of these pre-laser cut pieces. They actually do it to order, but these are perfectly sized pieces that you can exchange for the legit ones that are in your Mac cases in order to accept ATX hardware. Now let me get everything out of the way and I'll show you it piece by piece. So let me pop everything over here. Now I'm no expert guys. I have kind of glanced at the instructions because that's another thing that they provide. They provide instructions on how to use all of this stuff, but what this means is, using this stuff, you do not really have to cut up your own case, do your own measurements, and for the price of, like, I think all of this is like £50, including shipping, you really can't go wrong because you have such a clean job at the end of it, and it's just, you know, as long as you fit things properly and they provide the instructions, you really can't go far wrong. So, let's take a look. I decided to go with the Laser Hive stuff, and huge thank you, I can't remember who it was now, the viewer that pointed it out in my last video, but I did give them a shout out in the vlog, so apologies for that. But anyway, first up we have this little baggie here, and it's full of all the fixtures and fittings. Now, one thing that shows that this isn't a rocket science process is the fact that there aren't 1,000,001 screws in here. This is a nice little baggie, and it's just got a couple of screws in it, a few standoffs, and also an Allen key. So that's where they are, and this should give you everything you need to prepare your Quicksilver case to accept an ATX board and power supply. Now, of course, there are extra things that I want to do in terms of fan mounting and stuff, but this is the bare basic essential stuff that I will need in order to get my case working with these PC components. So one of the most important things we have here is the metal cutout. As you can see, it provides they provide an entirely new piece. So you got your 4 PCI expansions here, along with the IO shield cutout. Now actually, I've just noticed something guys while making this video. The Quicksilver actually has 5 expansion slots. So I'll have to email David about that to see what's going on there. If he sent me the wrong one, then I suppose he can swap it really quickly, I guess. But yeah, I'll just have to double check with him that this is right. You may only get 4 expansion slots with the Quicksilver if you're mounting an ATX board. I don't know, but I have seen people use the 5, so I'm not 100% sure. I'll ask him about that. But anyway, let's move on. This is basically the piece of metal that you cannot see from the back of the case because it's covered in plastic. Let's move the camera down a little bit. This will make everything a bit easier. And talking of plastic, here is the said piece of plastic that goes over that. So it's basically an entirely new back to your case. And I don't have a Quicksilver case yet. I've organised with a couple of my viewers to get a Quicksilver case in to have a look at. I'm going to get 2 or 3 so that I can make one really good condition one out of the lot, because I want this machine to look so good and I want it to look so original from the outside. But because I'll be using these new pieces, it won't look original on the back, but man, it'll really look clean. I'll have a link to the Laser Hive in the video description, their website. There are some pictures on there, but definitely one thing that I will do if I use this stuff, well, I will use it, if my Hackintosh ends up looking half decent or hopefully really good like I want it to, I will definitely send David my pictures so that he can pop them on the site, because, you know, I'll actually try and take some really good pictures of it. And then, of course, guys, we have this other part here. This is a bigger piece, and this is basically the PSU mount, as you guys can see, with no obstructions. So this is perfect because, as you guys know, PSUs now don't really have fans on the back. They have fans on the side or the top or whatever you'd call it on the PSU, the big 120, 130, 140 mils on the side, rather than the 80 or 60 mils on the back. And the honeycomb on the back of PSUs really needs good ventilation. And as you know, in the back of pretty much every ATX case, it's just a big gaping hole. So that's what I'll have in the back of my Quicksilver, a big gaping hole rather than restrictive plastic, because you sometimes with most PSUs that you use, you do have to cut away at the plastic on the Quicksilver from what I've seen, but you still have the kind of restrictive fan grill vent thing on the case. So this is an entirely new piece, and of course it all slots together to form one solid back to your Quicksilver. So this is kind of like a rough fit. That'll be the back of the Quicksilver. So you can see that we have the PCI slots. Again, I'll have to talk to him about the 4 versus 5. Not sure what's going on there. A little bit scared about that now, but you know. We have the holes there because, as you guys know, there's a vent there on the actual Quicksilver. Motherboard I/O shield, and of course the PSU cutout. Now, one other thing that they provide is actually something that doesn't look like much, but it's gonna be an absolute godsend. One thing I was worried about was kind of like modifying the motherboard tray to get the cutouts all working out, lining up properly without anything being wonky and without anything looking crap. I know a lot of people have done it, but I just wanted to make sure that it could be as best as it possibly can. And they give you, with kit number 1, I believe, I don't know, or kit number 2, can't remember quite how it works, you'll have to take a look at the site. They give you this sheet of paper, and I know it doesn't look like much, but there's this sheet of paper, it's got holes and arrows all over it, it goes in a certain orientation, and basically the instructions explain how you use this guide to mark the new places to drill on your motherboard tray so that you can mount the ATX board or the micro ATX board. So this is pretty much a godsend because it'll line up perfectly and I'll know exactly what I'm doing in terms of where to mark, where to drill, and then, you know, if everything goes properly and if everything goes right and I do everything properly, then it should line up and I should have a perfect layout for my board and my I/O shield and everything. So you get all of this custom made to your order for about £50, including shipping. I think it was about £51 or something. And to me, guys, that is a complete and utter steal. So that's just great. Let's put that lot to one side. Again, huge thank you to David. I will keep you guys updated on the 4 versus 5 PCI expansion slot thing. You probably only do get 4 on the Quicksilver with this modification, but I'll just triple check with him just in case. So that's that particular part of the video out the way. Again, check out Laser Hive in the description. I'm promoting them, but you know, I'm not affiliated with them in any kind of way. You know, they don't even know I do YouTube, I don't think. So anyway, Moving on. One really quick thing that I'd like to go over is a couple of people, despite the fact that I mentioned it in my last video, a couple of people said, Tom, you do realise that you haven't budgeted for memory in your wish list. And of course, as you guys know, DDR3 at the moment is quite expensive, and RAM in general is quite expensive, definitely compared to what it used to be when I first started fiddling around with building PCs back in around 2010. So, that is because, as you guys know, I already have 32 gigabytes of 1600 megahertz Corsair Vengeance RAM. Now this was very kindly donated by Todd, I believe. Back in the day, he also donated the GT640 that I have in the Mac Pro, and he donated the i7 3770K, which a lot of people shouted at me for selling, but that money that I got from that processor is sitting in its own special place in my bank, which is dedicated to this project. So all the money that's come from that 3770K and a lot of the components that I sold from my old gaming PC is going towards really expensive things in this PC, you know, like the GPU and like the fact that I want to put 2 really damn good SSDs in this thing and all the other expenses that comes with building a computer, because as you guys probably know, I really don't make enough money to go splashing around £1,500 on a new PC. So, you know, I kind of had to buy and sell a couple of things to do that, and as you guys know with Hackintoshing, it's best to keep to the latest platform and the latest processor, just so you have a lot of people around you that are there giving you support, you know, at least the latest kind of socket and platform. You know, so 3770 was dragging on a bit in age, so I decided I want to get updated support, browse the forums as easy as possible and get a bit more speed, so selling it is no problem. And I'm sure Todd doesn't mind. I believe it was Todd that donated this stuff. I'm so sorry if it isn't. But yeah, 32 gigs of RAM, absolutely awesome. Now, one thing, guys, it's not low profile, so I may have to modify, actually, probably, yeah, I will have to modify probably 1 or maybe even 2 of these sticks of RAM in order to get the Noctua cooler, the low profile Noctua cooler, working properly on this motherboard, because it just will not fit with this high profile RAM, I don't think. And when I say modify, I basically mean that I'll chop off all the fins on top of the heatsink and then just paint the top of the remaining heatsink black so that it blends in. The cooler will be covering it anyway. Now, if anyone ever says to me, oh Tom, don't chop off the heatsink fins because, you know, that'll affect performance and heat, well, yeah, it's just there for looks anyway. Why do you think they sell the low profile versions? So it makes no difference. But anyway, that's the RAM. I'm already a lucky boy. I've got 32 gigs of RAM to stick into this system, and I for one cannot wait to have 32 gigs. I've got 8 gigabytes in my Mac Pro, I've got 8 gigabytes in my MacBook Pro, and I've never used more than 8 gigs on a system of mine, so 32 gigs, I just cannot wait. So that's the RAM out the way. Taking a look at one more small component, which is not in my Amazon list. I believe these were donated from Christian in a bundle of stuff that was going towards my old Hackintosh. Now here we have a couple of BitPhoenix Alchemy LED strips, and these are the sort of stick-on adhesive LED strips that these are the white LEDs, I think. These are white in colour. So one thing that I will probably never ever do, regardless of whether it's a Hackintosh or not, I will never put lights inside of my Mac. Lights and Macs just do not go. They really don't, in my opinion. But on a Power Mac case, one place where lights really do look good is on the bottom of the case, underneath, on the exterior of the case. So my plan is, using a drill out, a hole that I drill at the back, I'll route some cables through, Molex down, stick these underneath the case, and the bottom of my Power Mac will glow. Now, this isn't like a bad thing to do, because, you know, I'm saying I don't like lighting on Macs, but it kind of is. But it's not in the same way, because there were people doing this back in the day, mounting cold cathodes on the bottom of their Power Macs in 2001 and 2002, so there's absolutely no issue with it. And also, it's almost like having desk lighting. If I've got LEDs around my desk, there's no problem having a little bit of a glow coming out the bottom of my Power Mac, and I do love lights. And of course, with the clear acrylic feet and that the Power Macs have, it'll just look stunning. And I do also plan on doing the same thing with my Power Mac G3. I plan on putting blue LED strips underneath the G3 to make that thing hover a little bit, because that's got such a nice case. It just needs some light around it, not inside it. You can't see inside it. You can't see inside the Quicksilver, just underneath it. So that's the LED lighting. And any other components that were donated for the old Hackintosh project, the Corsair 650D project that never got off the ground, all of those components, they will either be used somewhere else in the future in a project, or they'll be sold and the money generated from them will go back into this Hackintosh project, so it's technically the same thing. Now, I do have a very, very nice fan here in front of me. I have a Silverstone Air Penetrator 120mm fan. This is a beauty. Actually, I believe it's 120mm. Could be 140. Let's take a look. AP121. No, it's a 120mm fan, and Air Penetrator fans are actually really cool. It's a nice quality fan. They've been around for a good few years now, and there are companies that are doing fans that are, you know, better than this now. But one thing I like about these is the little diagram they provide. Now, I don't know if... Here we go. Here's the difference. Now, standard fan, okay, it just sort of poofs air everywhere. This fan creates like a whirlwind tunnel, and you can think of it like just a solid block of air coming out of it. Now, I know these are very popular for use on radiators, but they're also very good if you want directional airflow onto a certain part of your case. Now, I do have two Noctua fans in my basket. I've got a 140 that I'm hoping to drill a hole and use it on the bottom of the case, and I've got a 120 that I'm thinking of using in the existing, it's inside the case, in the existing place. But if I need an extra fan, and I'm thinking if I just put one in the front of the case where the optical drive bays would be, and I know it can't take any intake, but if I do that, then I can suck air from somewhere and it will blow across my RAM and underneath the CPU heatsink, which would probably be it would probably be quite ideal because the CPU heatsink will be parallel to the PSU. So maybe getting a big thick air channel would be a good idea up there, but I'm not too sure for a couple of reasons, because this is an LED fan and I don't want LEDs in that case, and of course I don't know about mounting. I don't want to be drilling the front of the case and everything. You know, where there's a will there's a way, but I don't want it to be totally ghetto. I want it to be fun and I don't want to get too stressed about it, but I also want it to look really good. So I'll probably won't be using this, but it is kind of on backup, if that makes sense. And of course they're very nice quality fans, and I do have a lot of other things upstairs, brand new computer components wise, that I was going to use for other stuff. Like I've got a Cooler Master Hyper 212 Evo, I've got a Cooler Master 120mm fan, I've got a couple of those. I've also got a couple of 200mm fans that were donated for the 650D project. All of the money from those, if I sell them, will be going into this project, or like I said, they'll be going into another project, because I do plan on doing a build around late 2015, a gaming build, just a build to do for fun on the channel that I can then later sell, because I want to kind of get the builds, do a few more builds on the channel because they're very popular and people enjoy them. So this little pile of stuff here is kind of like the first ever components for my Power Hack G4. Now, this is the majority of the video, but I'm going to finish this video with a very exciting announcement. At the moment, I'm in talks with one of my YouTube viewers. He's a great guy. I'm not going to mention his name because I'm going to save that for the next video. And the next video will probably be, if everything goes to plan, an unboxing. Now, it's not just going to be any kind of unboxing. It's going to be a donation unboxing. But it's going to be a donation that's definitely very different to donations that I've had before. Now, I've had these donations like with this RAM and the CPU and the other Hackintosh parts, and very, very high scale expensive donations like that. This is exactly what that will be, and it is in relation to the Power Hack G4 project. So in other words, guys, in his words, he wanted me to get you guys hyped, ready for that video, because I do believe that there will be a package winging its way to me here in ItsMyNaturalColour headquarters, which is basically my bedroom in my parents' house, but it will be winging its way to me here, and it's probably going to be crammed full of goodies that will allow me to get this Hackintosh project off the ground. Now, I'm not going to mention any more details than that, but let me promise you that if all goes to plan, that will definitely be super exciting. Also, I'm planning on getting the case in very soon, within the next couple of weeks at latest. So this project is actually a lot closer than we all thought it was. And I'm doing my best to raise money here, there and everywhere, and I do believe I have enough to start ordering myself some of my own goodies to put in this machine. So we'll see what happens. We'll get the case here first, do some maths, figure everything out, and then we'll go from there. So this was video 2 of, I don't know, there could be 6, 7, 8, 9 parts to this series, because it's going to be very exciting. Definitely one of the most exciting things I've ever done on the channel, because it keeps everyone happy. It keeps the Power PC people happy because it's a Power Mac. It keeps the PC build people happy because it's a PC build. It keeps the gaming people happy because it's high quality components and it's going to be a beast of a gaming rig as well. It keeps the Mac people happy because it's a Hackintosh. It keeps the Hackintosh people happy because it's Hackintosh. So all round, you can't really go wrong. I do think with this particular project on the channel that I am pleasing as many of my viewers as possible. So with that as my last note on this video, I hope you guys have enjoyed. This was mainly a little bit of hype and me just discussing a little few ideas. I'll email David straight away after editing this video. While this video is rendering, I will email David just to make sure the PCI thing is okay. I'm sure it is. They're a very professional set of people. Well, I don't know if it's just David or what. I don't know the setup, but the Laser Hive, super impressed with their service. Thank you very much. Thank you to everyone involved in this video, including the people for the donations that you see in front of you. I know I've thanked you before, but I'll thank you again. And of course, as always, I will see you in the next video, which will not be related to this project, but the next video related to this project will be very, very soon, because I am so hyped up. Thanks a lot, guys. See you very soon.